Hello again, everyone, and thanks for joining us for this Thursday's edition of Alaska Weather on the 9th day of June. I'm David Percy. And up first on the fire danger graphic, showing pretty high fire danger now for the area along the lower and, well, actually from the Yukon Delta on up along the lower to mid Yukon River Valley, the Kuskokwim Valley, on down into Bristol Bay. Very high fire dangers there. And also along the eastern Norton Sound area, Norton Bay, and the eastern coast of the southern Seward Peninsula. But the Seward Peninsula, all of the northwest interior, Brooks Range, right on up to the Yukon Flats, all in the very high fire danger zone. And that kind of moves into the Fairbanks area. East of Fairbanks, the upper Tanana Valley, 40-mile country, some light precipitation lowering the fire danger there. In fact, north of the Alaska Range or Northway Tok, in those areas, down to low. Of course, all the cool and wet conditions is made for low fire danger, south central Alaska, the Kenai Peninsula, and Copper River Basin, down to Iliamna Lake there. Of course, Kodiak Island and the Panhandle have been receiving almost daily rainfall there in the southeast coast. And anywhere from 7/10 to 9/10 of an inch of precipitation fell anywhere from Butte, Palmer into the Eagle River area over the last 24 hours. So pretty low fire dangers east and south of the Alaska Range, with the very high fire danger extreme continuing out west and to the north to the Brooks Range. And satellite imagery showing a lot of sunshine out over the northern and western part of the state, with allowing temperatures not as warm as yesterday. The 70s now getting suppressed southwestward. 73 at Bethel, 72 at Marshall, the two warm spots in the state mid-afternoon today. And then the clouds, actually the western Alaska Range area, that's quite a cluster of thunderstorms just east of Sparivon, and that's developing throughout late morning into the afternoon hours. Earlier today, thunderstorm at Kenai, had thunderstorms over southern Cook Inlet, and a few strikes now starting to show up over the Talkeetnas as well, and Copper River Basin to a lesser extent, but it's mostly along the Alaska Range there, the greatest amount of lightning strikes today. And you can see clouds extending up into the Fairbanks area eastward. Otherwise, clear skies there in the western Arctic coast. On the infrared shot here, you can see the mid and high level moisture dropping southward, with upper level low coming southward in Arctic front, bringing kind of swinging the winds around from, instead of the east northeast, in advance of that system now they're out of the west and west northwest, and some light snow earlier on over the eastern Arctic coast. Anything about 1/100 of an inch water equivalent at Barter Island today. Otherwise, we had showers, a couple of bands of moisture, one bringing rain to Yakutat and the North Gulf Coast into the Copper River Basin areas, and another surge of moisture coming into the southern southeast coast. That's brought about 1/3 of an inch of precipitation there. Places like Klawock and Ketchikan both had about 33/100 of an inch in the last 12 hours there. And then the precipitation, Kenai about 15/100 of an inch with a thunderstorm earlier this morning. And Stony, western Alaska Range, picked up 6/10 of an inch so far this afternoon, with those that area of thunderstorm showing up as the white top clouds, or the whiter, brighter area there over the western Alaska Range, and then just clear skies off to the west there. And a weak disturbance bringing some showers to the eastern Aleutians, clouds up toward the Pribilost, a lot of low clouds and fog out over the southern Bering Sea. Today on the chart, you can see thunderstorms, again, western Alaska Range seeing the most strikes, but along the northern edge of the precipitation field there over the Alaska Range, some strikes beginning to show up, but by far the greatest concentration over Cook Inlet, southern Cook Inlet, and the western Alaska Range today. A few isolated showers, Kodiak Island, scattered showers over the northern Panhandle, with the heavier rain down to the south, that next band of moisture as we saw pulling up, and then some light snow coming onto the eastern Arctic coast. But a lot of clear skies, western Arctic coast, northwest interior, a lot of sunshine, but northeast winds keeping the temperatures cooler, gusting to 32 miles an hour to the northeast at McGrath, flat seeing gusts of 40 miles an hour, while Tin City north 33 miles an hour, same thing at Point Hope. And that blowing some cooler air in, only in the 50s to near 60 in the central interior today. In the 70s, lower 70s, down toward, again, around the southwest interior, Bethel, and into the Yukon Delta a little bit there. With 73 at Bethel was the warmest I could find. And then a few scattered showers of the week trough out over the eastern Aleutians. Much of the southern Bering Sea seeing low clouds, fog, but light wind conditions continue out there. No storms at all. Main storminess south of the Gulf of Alaska and over the northeast Pacific. We'll see tonight that one low center kind of rotates to the northeast and sets up just north of the 991 millibar low. We'll see the 989 near the Queen Charlotte pulls west-northwest, and that will continue to feed moisture up into the southern Panhandle. The heaviest rainfall amounts there overnight tonight will be in the south, more showery to the north, drying out there for Yakutat and the eastern North Gulf Coast as that band of moisture pushes eastward and then begins to stall out again right across the Copper River Basin down into the Chugach Mountains, the Talkeetnas, eastern Kenai Peninsula, and thunderstorms again this evening over the western Alaska Range to the northern Aleutian Range. But look for more rain into the areas even north of the eastern Alaska Range there, right around Eagle, southward, Northway, Tok, Chicken, picking up some shower activity tonight. Farther to the north, the Arctic front dropping southward spread some light snow or flurries to the central Arctic coast and the east side there, but amounts nothing too terribly heavy expected. And winds won't be much of a factor with that at all, but stay pretty gusty along the wet northwest coast, Cape Lisburne, Point Hope area down into the Bering Strait, but lighter winds over the Bering Sea, just a breeze there out of the north basically on average, with quite an extensive area of low clouds, fog, and drizzle from Bristol Bay near or south of the Pribilofs, covering just about all the Aleutian chain, and then less of that condition up towards St. Lawrence Island. Taking a look at tomorrow's forecast, showers for the Panhandle. Next system still off the coast of the southwest there. Another band of moisture spreads more rain, light rain into the Yakutat area. Be mostly cloudy with showers for south central Alaska, Kenai Peninsula, western Alaska Range down to Kodiak, as well as the Copper River Basin. And then generally variably to mostly cloudy over the eastern interior areas of light snow, flurries for the central Arctic coast down into the North Slope, kind of a mixture of rain or snow showers, depending on your elevation there for the Brooks Range into the Kobuk, Koyukuk Valley areas, but dry over the southwest interior with a lot of sunshine once again. Same thing for the Seward Peninsula, just variably cloudy skies. And the Noatak Valley, Selawik, northwest coast looking pretty good with a fair amount of sunshine. Mostly sunny over the northern Bering Sea, and central southern Bering Sea will be the area with the low clouds and fog, but winds stay light out there for the next couple of days. So you can see even less of a gradient over the Bering Sea on Saturday, with low clouds and fog from the Pribilof southward across all of the Aleutians for IFR flying conditions there. Better conditions up towards St. Lawrence Island, some sunshine, and also the west and southwest interior looking pretty good. Some areas of light snow over the north slope and flurries along the Arctic coast, maybe some snow showers into the Kobuk Valley and the western Brooks Range, but nothing heavy. And thunderstorms once again, cloudy skies, showery, cooler, and isolated thunderstorms in the afternoon for the south central Alaska area and the western central Alaska Range into the Copper River Basin, even the upper Tanana Valley looking cooler with a little bit better chance of showers. And the Panhandle kind of stays unsettled and damp with periods of rain south, more of a showery condition up to the north, back toward Yakutat, and then it cuts off and looks like a dry day for the North Gulf Coast. Lows tonight in the 20s for the North Slope and the Arctic coast, south of the Brooks Range, upper 30s to near or into the 40s, some locations in the lower 50s over the southwest interior and the windier locations, upper 30s for the Pribilofs, and upper 40s to lower 50s for the Panhandle, near 50 for Kodiak Island. Highs tomorrow about like today, 70 to 75 over the Kuskokwim Valley, Kuskokwim Delta area. Otherwise 65 to 70 for Bristol Bay. In the 60s, south central Alaska, lower to mid 60s in the Tanana Valley, And the Kobuk, Koyukuk, Upper Yukon Valley areas in the mid-50s and then 30s for the North Slope and Arctic coast, with highs near freezing right along the Arctic coast line. Upper 50s to lower 60s. There or upper 50s southern panhandle with more clouds and rain, but less of that, kind of more of a showery condition. Northern southeast coast, Haines up to 66, Juneau about 62, and 45 to 50 out over the Aleutians and the Bering Sea. Followed by lows Saturday morning, back 25 to 30 for the Arctic coast and North Slope areas in the Brooks Range into the northern valleys, or the Kobuk Koyukuk Valley, down into the upper 30s, and lower 30s on the northern side of the Seward Peninsula, upper 30s for Nome, near 31 for St. Lawrence Island, lower 40s there for the eastern Aleutians, and 40 to 45 there for the central interior areas, with mid 40s to lower 50s south central Alaska, in the 40s for the panhandle, and then the highs on Saturday cooler yet. 70s really starting to become sparse and hard to find. Got 70 in the forecast for, say, Dillingham and King Salmon. Otherwise, everywhere else, 65 to 70 over the southwest interior, mid 60s in the Tanana Valley, upper 50s to lower 60s for the areas south of the Brooks Range, North Slope in the 30s, lower 30s for the Arctic coast.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
A lot of IFR tomorrow morning from the Brooks Range on out to the central eastern Arctic coast. A little bit of marginal VFR from Wainwright to Point Lay. Otherwise, south of the Brooks Range, across all of the Yukon River, Kuskokwim Valley, into Denali, good VFR. Back west Seward Peninsula, St. Lawrence Island area, and the northwest coast. Bering Sea, IFR, except a little improvement there just west of the Pribilofs. And that IFR zone across Kodiak Island up into the Kenai Peninsula. Southern Cook Inlet right up to Kenai. And marginal VFR, Manuscus, Sitna Valley, Turning an Arm, Kanik Arm, Prince William Sound, the Panhandle, IFR, Dixon Entrance up across Prince of Wales Island over toward Misty Fjords. And for the afternoon, not much change in the interior, VFR for the most part. Some marginal VFR along the eastern Alaska Range down into the eastern Copper River Basin, including the Wrangell Mountains. IFR, Yakutat, marginal for the Panhandle, and mostly VFR inland areas of Kodiak Island and Shelikof Strait, Alaska Peninsula. Western Alaska Peninsula conditions deteriorate about false pasture into the IFR, and that's pretty much the case for the entire Aleutian chain and the Pribilofs. IFR, central western Arctic coast, marginal VFR for the North Slope to the crest of the Brooks Range, including Anatuvik and Anigan Pass, possibly even Arctic Village. Saturday morning, IFR, Brooks Range out to the Arctic coast. IFR from the Gulf of Alaska up into the southeast interior, marginal for the Panhandle, and some marginal VFR to the eastern Alaska ranges west of, looks like Windy Pass. Windy Pass probably be VFR. And we've got kind of a zone of IFR meandering across the Bering Sea from the Bering Strait, St. Lawrence Island, Pribilofs, Western Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula into Bristol Bay. And for the Saturday afternoon time frame, a band of VFR, Adak and Atka, northward, IFR for the Pribilofs to St. Lawrence Island, IFR, Amchitka Island to Shimei and Attu. And looks like some VFR there for let's see, northeast Bristol Bay, the Aleutian Range, northern Kodiak Island to Cook Inlet, the sharp area of IFR from, say, near just east of Girdwood, Portage, Whittier, Passage Canal areas, in across Prince William Sound, all of the North Gulf Coast, Gulf of Alaska, just east of Kodiak. And that remains off the coast of the Panhandle, looking VFR for the inside waters, much of interior Alaska south of the Brooks Range. Passes Anatuvik, IFR, switching on the northern entrance into the pass. Same forecast for Atigan, at least periods of IFR during the day. Friday means marginal VFR at other times. Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR. Rainy will be VFR. Windy will be VFR as well. Isabel, occasionally marginal. And Mentasta, mostly marginal. Tanita starting out IFR and then gradually improving to marginal VFR conditions in the afternoon. And for Portage, improvement from the early part of the day, and could likely be IFR, becoming VFR into the afternoon and early evening. Chilcoot and White starting out IFR, becoming marginal in the afternoon. Freezing levels 2,000 feet down to the Brooks Range and 4,000 feet along the south side of the Brooks Range. And also another 4,000 foot pocket there right over the central interior, Fairbanks, Nenana into Denali Park. And then 8,000 feet along the southwest coast, 6,000 feet over the Panhandle. And taking a look at icing. Considerable moderate rime icing moving into southern southeast coastal areas with areas of isolated moderate up across the remainder of the Panhandle, North Gulf Coast, south central Alaska, southeast interior, and then with the moisture coming down out of the Arctic, some possible isolated moderate icing 3,000 to 9,000 feet for the Arctic coast, North Slope, Brooks Range. Some of that's slipping on down in across the Koyukuk Valley, almost down to the Yukon River, icing free out to the west. Jet stream, cold upper low over the North Slope tomorrow, and 50 to 70 knot winds blowing around that center, and another one south of Kodiak Island, 50 knot winds on the west quadrant of that system, and at 9,000 feet, 25 knots out of the north across the Alaska Peninsula, 20 to 35 knot winds from the Yukon Delta coast northward to the western Arctic coast, south 35 for the Panhandle, and 3,000 feet looking like this, going to turbulence, occasional moderate chop along the southeast coast, surface 6,000 feet, and also along the northwest coast into the Bering Strait, northern Seward Peninsula. After the break, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
You get a supermoon and you get a supermoon. That's right, Star Trekkers. We got multiple supermoons coming at you on June 14th and July 13th. What's a supermoon? I'm glad you asked. Luna will look as much as 14% larger and about 30% brighter for both full moons. Why? Perigee. No, I didn't sneeze. That's the scientific term for supermoon. It's one of my favorites. Perigee. Try saying it. It's great. Every full moon, the sun is fully shining on the moon's face, forming a straight line through 3 celestial bodies. This is called syzygy. Sometimes this coincides with the moon hitting its closest point in orbit, called perigee. When orbital perigee coincides with a full moon, syzygy, we see a slightly larger, brighter moon, perigee, aka a supermoon. The best time to check out the perigee syzygy is right after moonrise, so get outside and keep looking up.
The beluga whale, also known as the white whale, lives in large groups and are unusual among whales. They have no dorsal fin, large bulbous heads, and they can actually swim backwards. To feed, they produce sound to find and hunt fish and invertebrates, and they use sound to communicate.
They're also known as the canaries of the sea because they make such a diversity of noises. They make chirps and whistles and gurgles and trumpeting sounds. They just make all kinds of sounds.
In the U.S., beluga whales live in the cold waters of Alaska, and there are 5 separate populations. Of those 5, the Cook Inlet population is the smallest, and has declined by about 75%. Subsistence hunting may have contributed to this initial population drop, but this practice was regulated starting in 1999, with the last hunt in 2005. Still, the beluga population here has yet to recover.
We listed Cook Inlet beluga whales as an endangered species under the Endangered Species Act in 2008, and we had hoped that the population would start recovering, but we are still seeing a continued decline. And these beluga whales are only found in Cook Inlet, so if they go extinct, we don't think any other belugas will come back and populate this area.
These whales spend most of their summer near Anchorage, Alaska's largest city, where threats to belugas are on the rise as the city grows. These may include diminishing food, habitat loss or destruction, pollution, toxins, and human-caused noise which hampers their ability to feed and communicate. Researchers are trying to understand which of these threats may be impacting them most, but Cook Inlet is a tough place to work.
It's really hostile for research. We have the strong tides, which makes it challenging for human safety, and we can't see through the water. It is very muddy, so we're pretty much limited to the part of the animal that breaks the surface of the water. And as a result, we have limited information about the specific population dynamics of Cook Inlet beluga whales.
Up until recently, Information has mainly come from annual aerial surveys from aircraft and boat or shore-based photo identification surveys that use unique markings to tell animals apart. Scientists also use passive acoustics to listen for belugas, but none of these methods can detect much information about their health.
So it's really been a game changer with the whole species in the spotlight designation. We've gotten more resources within our agency.
For instance, we're able to use a drone to collect some aerial imagery of belugas in the wild, and we're hoping to learn some information about the age classes, information about the health status.
And probably the most important bit of information that we'll get out of that is we'll be able to identify the new calves. And we're hoping if we keep doing this every year, we'll be able to get an estimate of calf production every year that will tell us something about how well the population's doing.
We are also expanding upon our biopsy studies, hopefully to give us some information about sex, the individual's reproductive status, some genetic information, some contaminant loads.
Public and private partners are contributing as well. Some are looking at toxin levels in the whale's prey, while others are analyzing beluga teeth to learn about their age and past diet. Others monitor water quality and how belugas react to boats, and more check to see if their behavior changes with increased background noise. All of these findings will go toward developing effective recovery strategies for this population.
As for what you can do, if you're out boating, give belugas space. Don't drive right up next to them. Stay about 100 yards away. If you're flying over them, just remember that you're putting noise into the water as well, and so stay at least 1,500 feet above them. Report a stranded beluga whale as soon as possible, and that's if they're dead stranded or live stranded. The amount of information that we can learn from these animals by responding to a stranding is monumental, and it will help our efforts to recover them.
Together we can help beluga whales thrive in the dynamic waters of Cook Inlet. With continued research and good stewardship, we hope to see this population grow in the years to come.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Southeast Coast marine forecast for the South Coast. Small craft advisories for Friday, south winds 25 knots. And small craft advisories on the North Coast, a little stronger there. Southeast 25 to 30 knots with seas running 9 to 11 feet. Small craft advisories for the southern inner channels and Clarence Strait. Southeast winds 25 knots with 8-foot seas. And gusty southeast winds at 20 knots for Stevens Passage and Lynn Canal, south winds at 20. And for the day Saturday, small craft advisories continue for the south coast or south to southeast winds at 25 knots. Lighter winds on the central coast with looking at southeast winds about 20 knots, and even lighter yet winds for the north coast, west winds at 10 knots with 7-foot seas. Clarence Strait, small craft advisories for Saturday, southeasterlies at 25 and southeast only 10 for Stevens Passage, south 15 for Lynn Canal. And for Prince William Sound, winds will be west 15 knots, seas 2 feet, west-northwest breezes for the North Gulf Coast at 15 knots with 6-foot seas, west winds 15 knots for the Barren Islands, seas 6 feet. Cook Inlet, light southwest afternoon breeze at about 10 knots with 2-foot seas and light variable winds for Kamishak Bay. And for Saturday, Cook Inlet, south winds 15 knots, seas 4 feet. Kamishak Bay, southeast winds 15 knots with 4-foot seas. Barren Islands, western North Gulf Coast, light variable winds. Prince William Sound, light southeast wind at 10 knots. And for the eastern North Gulf Coast, winds will be out of the south at 15 knots. Kodiak Island, west-southwest wind at 15 knots, seas 6 feet. Alaska Peninsula, west winds 15 knots, seas 5 feet. And for Bristol Bay, west winds at 15 knots with 5-foot seas. Saturday, Bristol Bay, southwest winds 20 knots, seas 7 feet. And for the Alaska Peninsula, west-southwest winds at 15 knots, seas 3 to 4 feet. Kodiak Island, variable winds 5 to 15 knots with seas running around 5 feet. For the Fox Islands, northwest winds 15 knots, seas up to 5 feet. And for Adak and Atka, variable winds 5 to 15 knot winds for Adak and Atka with pretty good seas at 3 to 4 feet. Amchitka Island, variable winds at 10 knots. And from Kiska to Shimia, north winds at 15. And for Saturday, west of Adak, west-northwest wind or north to northwest winds of 15 knots, but light variable winds for the Adak-Atka Island area as well as Unimak Island, Unalaska Island as well. All in that 10 to 15 knot range with seas down there pretty good, 3 to 4 feet. For the southwest coast, north to northwest winds at 20 knots for Friday, seas 3 to 4 feet. Northwest at 15 for the Pribilofs, north 20 St. Matthew Island. Small craft advisories for St. Lawrence Island, pretty stiff north wind at 30 knots with 7-foot seas. Small craft advisories continue Saturday for St. Lawrence Island, but coming down to 25 knots from the north. Northwest at 20 for the southwest coast, north 15 for the Pribilof Islands. And for St. Matthew Island, northeast at 20. Norton Sound, north winds 20 knots with 4-foot seas. Eastern Beaufort Sea coast for Friday, west winds at 10 knots, and then north winds 20 knots for the central and western Arctic coast. Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson, northeast at 20. Cape Thompson to Wales, small craft advisories, north winds at 25 knots. Those pick up in speed from Wales to Cape Beaufort, north at 30 knots. Small craft advisories for the western Arctic coast, northeast at 25 knots. And for the central and eastern Arctic coast, winds will be east-northeast at 20 knots. For tonight, look for periods of light snow, fog, with light winds, though, for the central and eastern Arctic coast. Some of that's trying to push in across the eastern north slope. Otherwise, brooks range southward in the interior, dry down into northern Bristol and Togiak Bays. Cloudy, showery with isolated thunderstorms for south central Alaska, Cop River Basin, wet for the Panhandle. And for the Aleutians, low clouds, fog, and drizzle. That kind of fades away as you head north in the Bering Sea there. And then for tomorrow, mostly clear over the northern Bering Sea, low clouds and fog. Isolated areas of light drizzle, but IFR flying conditions there. And some scattered showers to the Alaska Peninsula. Mostly cloudy with scattered showers across south central Alaska and the Copper River Basin. Areas of light snow for the north slope to the central Arctic coast. Showery for the Panhandle. And for Saturday, light rain, fog, and drizzle for the southeast coast, and cloudy with showers and isolated thunderstorms over southeast Alaska down to the Kodiak Island, and chance of snow over the northern interior.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.